Tadparam paryaya vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya dhimahi Tanno Guruh Prachodayate Om Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Another day, another session, and we are continuing with our exploration of the spine and stuff related to the spine philosophically, physiologically, anatomically, and from a yogic perspective. We need to make sure that we are hydrated. If we are not hydrated, our spine is going to suffer a lot, because every bit of tissue in the body, it doesn't matter whether it's the spine or your brain or your kidney or your lungs, the tissue in your body needs to be hydrated if it is to be strong. And it is only when the tissues are hydrated that they can be held together. In yoga, we have the concept of kapha dosha. And people often have a negative impression of the kapha, thinking that it is sticky, gluey mucus, and that, it holds you back. But actually, the most important aspect of the kapha dosha is it holds you together. It prevents you from falling into pieces. So it is the connective tissue that holds you together. That is actually what the kapha dosha is. It's a connective tissue that holds you together. And I like to think of this as the collagen fibers. We have the collagen fibers, which are the basic meshwork on which all the tissues get built. And when we are talking especially of the spine and the vertebrae and the intervertebral discs, and we are talking about degeneration, regeneration, healing oneself, we need to understand that we need to support the matrix that is holding it all together, and the collagen fibers are very essential for this to happen. And the collagen fibers, they work best when they are hydrated. Now, we often forget that we as a human being, we appear to be very solid. You cannot see through me, okay? I'm quite solid, and most of us are quite solid. So we forget that we are about 75% nearly, that is 3/4 nearly, we are water, we are fluid. And it was on one of my trips down under in Sydney, where Murali had taken me to, this big, huge water world they have there. And we were going under the sharks and all the amazing creatures who were in the water above us. And that was the day I realized the fish are not swimming, they are flying. Because, we are so used to seeing the water from above, so we think they are swimming in the water. But then when you're below them, you realize they're actually flying in the water. And it's very beautiful when you look up and see the huge creatures and how they actually fly. And that day, in one of the exhibits, there was a very strange looking ocean creature, small one, thin one, and you could perfectly see through it. It was virtually transparent, except for a few structures. And it said something at the bottom like, this is 98% water. This creature is 98% water. And I was like, wow, 98% water. And then suddenly it hit me, we are about 75% water, not too far away. But because we appear solid, we forget that. And that is why it is so essential that we keep ourselves hydrated, because the collagen fibers that are the rebuilding matrix that hold everything together, the kapha dosha, it requires to be hydrated. When we get dehydrated, there are more opportunities of things to fall apart and to fall into pieces. As I was talking about the vertebral disc, intervertebral disc, and sponge. So what happens with those discs is that you have the two vertebrae, you have the disc in between, and what happens is that this disc enables movements to occur without the two vertebrae rubbing against each other. And in osteoarthritis, it doesn't matter whether it is spine, shoulder, the hip, or the knee. In osteoarthritis, what happens is the articular surfaces, which is a fancy name, it means the two ends of the two bones that are coming together. So we call them articular surfaces. The two articular surfaces, they are normally kept apart. Bone and bone, they don't rub on each other. But then what happens in osteoarthritis is there is degeneration and bone on bone starts to rub, and that is where the pain starts to come. That is where the friction starts to come. That's where the wear and tear starts to come. So when we hydrate, or rather rehydrate, our intervertebral discs, they can swell into their normal position, thus enabling the vertebrae to work as they should. It doesn't matter whether it is the lower back, the middle, or the upper back. And as I have been stressing over the last few sessions, I think today we are on to our fifth session. What I have been stressing is that both the neck, the cervical vertebrae, and the lumbar vertebrae are at the greatest risk. So these are the two areas that really, there's a lot of pressure on them, there's a lot of workload, and hence they're the ones that give up most of the time. So before we go any further in this, let's start to crawl around a bit. So join me as we crawl around onto all fours, okay? Just crawling around your space, giving a nice sense of using each and every joint in your body in a harmonious way. So I get a very nice gift. Yeah? A very nice gift from nature. A very nice way to move around, letting your joints have a very good sense of being used properly. One of the definitions of yoga by Swamiji was yoga is the science of right useness, using everything as it is meant to be used, not misusing, disusing, abusing, or refusing, as Gargi put it yesterday. So common this is. Refusal is a major component in ignorance. As Ammaji loves to say, she loves language and her play on it is amazing. She says, ignorance is the refusal to see. You ignore, and that is why you have ignorance. It's a refusal to see. So ignorance is not an excuse. Refusal to see, it's actually a very interesting way to look at that word. Crawling around nicely, giving a nice sense of a healthy activity to your body, letting all aspects of you move around nicely on all fours. And then coming into the Chatushpada asana, the four-footed posture, a posture which is a very gravity neutral posture. You are not putting the full weight on your spine. That is why this is an excellent practice when ladies are pregnant, because there's a lot of pressure on the lower back during pregnancy. As the uterus grows, the gravid uterus starts to pull on the lower back. So this actually takes a lot of that strain off and is a very useful posture to do. And again, it enables all the body organs, especially abdominopelvic organs, to get back into their regular place. So people who have problem with organ prolapses and other things, even hemorrhoids, piles, because that's again due to sitting and standing a lot and the gravity. So along with the spine, you help yourself a lot when you do this. So coming into Chatushpada, let's do a few rounds of the Vyagra. Breathing out. Breathing in, low, mid, high. Breathing out, low, mid, high. Breathing in, low, mid, high. Breathing out, low, mid, high. breathing in low, mid, high, breathing out low, mid, high. Breathing in low, mid, high, breathing out low, mid, high. One more time. Breathing in low, mid, high, breathing out low, mid, high. Relax into the Shashangasana with your arms stretched in front, giving a nice stretch across the whole spine. There should be a nice stretch. Coming back up to the Chatushpada. Now this practice can be taken one step further. And what we do is that we go into what is called the Sharabasana and the Chiri Kriya. Sharaba is a creature which is like one of those mythological creatures people talk about, a griffin. And the thing is, in India, you cannot separate history and mythology. So it is more sensible to say historical mythology, mythological history, okay? Because it's tough to separate it, and that is basically the Indian culture. It is a mixture of history and mythology together, because it's a living culture. It's not a dead end. It's a living culture. So there has been a lot of understanding that people have existed at multiple dimensions at the same time. Now the modern mind is very limited. So it says if it's not in this dimension, it doesn't exist. So when you talk about Rama and Krishna walking this earth, they say, oh, that's your mythology, that's legends, and how can you mix it up? Yeah, they are correct from their perspective, because they will not accept you if you don't have a birth certificate. These are the guys who, even if you're standing in front of them, they'll say, if you don't have a birth certificate, you were not born. And you say, well, I was born, can't you see me? They say, no, there is no proof that you were born without a birth certificate. So no use in arguing with them. Mythological history, historical mythology, and that there have been multiple dimensions where people have existed. And as you elevate yourself, you travel through these dimensions, having different experiences. But anyway, coming back to the concept, Sharaba. The Sharaba is found in all the South Indian temples. If you go to our temples, you find this very beautiful statue, usually stone, which is adorning the temple pillars. And it is this creature which has like a lion, a leonine face. It's a huge lion-like face, long tail, and then it has usually wings. And it is this combination creature. Now the European griffin usually had more like a bird face. This is more a lion face. So it is a lion-faced creature that could fly, and it's quite an interesting thing. And there is a form of Lord Shiva called Sharabeshwara in Chidambaram. In the temple, if you go to the side of the main shrine, there is a temple for Sharabeshwara where Shiva comes in the form of a Sharaba in order to placate Narasimha Avatara of Lord Vishnu. It's a very beautiful concept. So Sharaba is this creature called the griffin, but it's not the European griffin idea, it's a more different one. So there's still a lot of lion in this. Like the Viagra had tiger, this has a bit of lion in it. Imagine a flying lion with a long tail, something like that. So how this is done is that from the Chatushpada, so you are in the Chatushpada, that as we breathe, what we are going to do is we lift the leg up. Okay, so what we do is that this leg goes up, as I breathe in. And the leg comes down as I breathe out. This is the Sharaba, is where as I breathe in, I lift the leg up and look up. So it is an extended version. It's an extended version of the Vyagra Pranayama. But here, if you were to hold it, it becomes an asana. Now, when you go into it and out, it is more a Kriya. So it's more like a Sharaba Kriya. But what we do is that we go into it and then we come out. Similarly, on the left side, what you do is that you do the breathing in and the lifting and the breathing out and coming back. So this is the Sharaba component. Then this can be extended. So in the Chiri Kriya, Chiri means a locust. One of those creatures which has, the legs going up like this, yeah. That locust, so Chiri Kriya is that insect. And what happens is that here we move up, then as we breathe out, we come down and we try to bring the head close to the gate. So you are breathing in and lifting up. As you breathe out, you're bringing your knee and your head together. So here you have this alternate expansion and contraction with the breath, where the whole spine is getting really extended when the leg goes out, and you're totally coming into a ball when the knee comes to the head. Let's do a few rounds of these two practices. First, the Sharaba Asana. So from the Chatushpada, breathing out, breathing in, and lifting up as you look up, breathing out and lowering back to the Chatushpada with the head down. Again, the right side, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, lifting up. Breathing out, lowering down. Now on the left side, breathing in and lifting. Breathing out. Breathing in and lifting. Breathing out. Breathing in and lifting. Breathing out. Relax in the Shashangasana for a few moments. Keep breathing. Coming back to the Chatushpada, now we are going to do the Chiri Kriya. So the difference is in Chiri Kriya you lift, but when you breathe out, you continue the movement. You don't stop when you come down here. You continue and you bring your knee as close to your head or your chin or your nose as possible. So there is that alternate continuous movement, seesaw type of movement, a pendulum type of movement, which is a very beautiful movement. Okay? Breathing out. Breathing in. Lifting up. Breathing out, bringing the head and the knee together. Breathing in, stretching up. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Now let's do it on the left side, the Chiri Kriya. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Once again, relax in the Shashangasana for a few moments with some deep breathing. Now, many people have been asking, these are practices that we have been doing and they're based on the four-footed posture. So we have been looking at how we can work on these practices in a healthy manner. We have worked on the Chatushpada asana, where you are on all fours. Then the crawling around, Chatushpada Kriya. Remember, Kriya in the Gita-nanda tradition, don't get confused with the Shat Kriyas or the Laya Kriyas and all that of other traditions. Those also exist. When we use the word Kriya in this reference to context, it means a practice where a movement is being done, mindfully being done, with the breathing it is being synchronized, and there is a rationale behind it, a systematic rational movement. So Chatushpada asana, the four-footed posture, Chatur, four, Pada, feet. Chatushpada Kriya, where you are crawling around. You could add on, if you want, that emotional relief and get things out, get the load off your shoulders and off your heart and all. You can make the animal noises and you could explore with it. That basically is dependent on what you feel you want to let out. You want to let out the dog today? Okay, let out the dog. You want to let out the cat? Meow. You want to let out the wolf? Ooh, go ahead and do it. Whatever you need to let out, let it out. Because as long as those primitive, reflexive, instinctive stuff is inside you, you cannot be yourself. So let it out. Then we have looked at the Vyagra pranayama. Vyagraha is the tiger. And here we call it a pranayama because there's a great emphasis on the movement of the breath. It's not just the spinal movement. Here in the context of spinal health, we are talking about it. But this Vyagra pranayama enables you to breathe consciously into the low, mid and upper parts of your lungs, thus utilizing each and every smallest component. So the Vibhaga pranayama, which is sectional breathing, you are heightening it into the Mahat Yoga pranayama, where you are bringing all aspects of the lungs together when you do the Vyagra pranayama. So when you do Vyagra pranayama, it is like you are doing the condensed version of the entire Hatenas, which are practices that work on sending the mind force into different parts of the lungs. So Vyagra pranayama, that is why it is called a pranayama, as opposed to Chatushpada Kriya and others. We have then seen how today we can extend the Vyagra pranayama into working on one half and the other half. So when you do the Vyagra, you're working with both. But if you are working on one side and the other, you can actually start to work by doing the Sharabasana, the Sharaba, the griffin, on one side. So here, one half, one hemi sector of you, that hemi sector is being worked out when you do the right side, and then the left hemi sector. So two hemi sectors, two parts of you are being worked out separately. Whereas in the Vyagra, you are using both together. In the Sharaba and then the Chiri Kriya, where you have this alternate expansion and contraction, creating like a pendular movement. And the pendular movement, this type of movement is very soothing. When babies cry, in South India, we have something called the Thuli. And what we do is that we are very ingenious in India. I tell you, the Indian race is an ingenious race. You give us nothing, we will create something. It is amazing. The problem is when you give us something, that's when we have a tendency to create nothing also. But from nothing, we can create something. It is amazing. The mental capacity of Indian race. And here I'm not talking about different parts of India. It is amazing. It's like those Saptarishi genes are still alive there. It's very, very much. Now coming back, what happens is this Thuli, in the West, you would go and spend a couple of $100 or maybe $1,000 to get something for the baby to sleep and have, a cage around it with lights above that go around and make those funny sounds and all. Most Indian traditional households, that's how our kids grew up, is we have this Thuli, and or sometimes we call it Kudurai also. Kudurai means a horse actually. And what we do is just the father's long dhoti. The dhoti that we wear, there are long dhotis, which are, we have The minimum is 4, then 8, 12, 16. We have different lengths. The longest dhoti is as long as a sari. So what we do is we take actually Papa's dhoti, and it is folded and tied at the top to like a fan hook or something. And you just have this cloth, and it's the father's smell. Remember the father's smell? Huh? This is how the baby connects to the father, because usually the baby has a connection with the mother by smell. But when you put it into this thuli with the father's dhoti, it connects with the father's smell also. And smell is the most primitive sort of connection we have at the sensory level. I remember as a young kid, once Ammaji asked me, I would have been very small. Ammaji said, Ananda, why did you choose me as your mother? Quite a question to ask a small baby. Why did you choose me as your mother? And it's legend has it, I don't remember, legend has it that I replied, because I loved your smell. I think that's quite an amazing answer for a small kid to give the mother. When the mother says, why did you choose me as your mother? Because I love your smell. Because I loved your smell. I think that's a very wise answer for a small kid. So I don't know whether I ever said it, but they attribute it to me. Legend attributes it to Dr. Ananda when he was a small kid. So this thuli, when you put the baby, you have this baby, infant in the thuli or kudure, and then you just rock. Rock away, baby. And it's amazing. The baby goes to sleep within a few seconds. There is this beautiful rocking action. That rocking action is harmonizing. A rocking action is healing. Sleep is the best way to heal yourself. Sleep is the best way to heal yourself, because in sleep, the healing processes are maximum. When you don't sleep, it is very tough. And there's this beautiful, yes, ICYER, Anandaraj and Divya, they were this. When you are doing this Chiri Kriya, it is like you are giving yourself a rockabye baby. These practices work at multidimensional level. And that is why don't let anybody tell you, oh, this muscle gets stretched and that muscle gets contracted and this joint gets flexed to 30 degrees. Nonsense. Okay? That is the imbecile level of understanding yoga. Sorry for that, but it's coming out a bit nowadays. We need to understand these practices are multidimensional. It's not just about, yes, when you stretch up like this, definitely different muscle groups and joint groups are coming into play. But that's not the bigger picture. And when you come down here, yes, it's very nice. You are contracting your abdomen and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But even the fact that your head and knee come together, the head and the knee coming together, they are amazing. What they do that when the knee comes together, it reminds us of being back in the mother's womb. And the knee to the head. This type of, it's a womb posture, which is reassuring. That is why when people are scared, they go into this flexed position. That is a position they put the people on surgery when they want to give them a spinal anesthetic. And it scares them out. But anyway, that's where the maximum opening of the vertebral space occurs, so you can give it well. And yes, Sundaraj and Narayanan, many studios are making saris hanging, doing aerial yoga. Yes. So true. The corruption of yoga in modern times, yoga has mutated beyond recognition. And I just wish they would not call it yoga. Call it something else. I would not. Then it's not my territory, right? When you call it yoga, then I feel that, I have to defend it. Not that yoga needs us to defend it. Yoga is our divine mother, so she can manage herself quite well. But still, you get weird. So it's not just the fact that this group of muscles and spine, that's all true. I'm not denying it. But there are multiple levels, because when you want to heal, you want to feel safe. If you don't feel safe, you cannot heal. And that is why the modern approach where you take people and put them into an alien environment and you expect them to heal. See, they're all ancient healing traditions all over the world. Okay, just because I live in India, just because I'm Indian and I speak, Tamil and Hindi, some people have been telling me, why don't you speak in Tamil and Hindi and why do you speak in English? I'm like, well, I speak all languages dependent on who is my audience and who I want to reach. But anyway, that's a different story. That's for a rant for another day. But what we need to understand is every culture, all cultures have had this understanding that if you are to heal, you need to be in an environment where you can be at ease with yourself. Because if you are not at ease with yourself in the external environment, the internal environment will not be at ease and you will not heal. And you look at most modern hospitals, that ease is not there. It's an alien environment. You are surrounded by people you don't know. Often impersonal, especially in Western countries. The medical system has become so impersonal that, there's no person-to-person contact. And one of my dear friends and colleagues in Germany, she was talking about the time she was working in the UK. And she used to work 4 hours extra every day to just connect with the patients. Not that she was paid for it. She was not paid for that. Others were going home early and others were, taking on other jobs to earn money. And she was spending 4 hours a day more than required to spend time with people. And everybody thinks she's mad because of it. Because, if you go home early, you can do another few jobs and you can get more money. You can have a bigger car, a bigger house, dress more. I don't know. Who are you trying to impress? Simplicity is the key to greatness. Complexity is a sign of people not knowing themselves. When you don't know it, you are going to be complex. When you know it, you are going to be simple. When you understand life, you are going to live life with simplicity. You choose to be simple. Look at Gandhi. He could have been wearing whatever he wanted. What did he choose to wear? He was called a naked fakir. He chose it. It is a choice we make. When Vivekananda was asked, why don't you, dress up like all of us Europeans? He said, in your culture, the dress makes the man. In our culture, we make ourselves. The dress doesn't make us. It's not what you wear. And we have to understand that we need to connect with humanity. The one thing still positive about the Indian medical system is we still have a humane approach. We still have a human touch. And that human touch is what heals. Not just treating a diagnosis and treating a report. So anyway, that's my rant for today. So coming back to spinal health, remember, get on to all fours. Stabilize yourself on all fours. Stability is a sign of spinal health. Crawl around on all fours. Let all those joints have a beautiful sense of movement. Go into the Vyagra Pranayama, working on all parts of the lungs, letting the energy flow throughout the spinal nerves. When you do the Vyagra Pranayama, all those 31 pairs of spinal nerves, they are getting a pranic infusion. And that energy of the prana that you are breathing at that time, that prana is going through all those 31 pairs of spinal nerves that supply your whole body. It's not just spinal health, it's overall health. And then you work on each side separately to strengthen it. Well, you have the Sharabasana, you have the Chiri Kriya. Yesterday we also did the Setu Kriya. Today I've gone a bit overboard, so we are not doing that. We will continue this exploration with a few more practices that are there, a few more concepts. And just thank you for taking time out and being with me, because that is an effort and that is a discipline. And I just looked at my page yesterday and I realized that it was the 29th of March that I think I did one of the first sessions on a Sunday. So today marks about 6 weeks of non-stop being with all of you, and many of you have been with me every session. My gratitude to you for that. May you be blessed.